To Islamabad, we can speak to Bilwal Bhutto Zardari, chairman of the opposition Pakistan's People's Party. Good to have you with us. Do you agree with Imran Khan? Are citizens able to make up their own mind on this issue?
Thank you so much for having me. Actually, I don't quite understand the Prime Minister's logic and reasoning to change the restrictions that were already in place, that surprisingly, for the first of this lockdown were being implemented relatively well by the religious community across Pakistan. And the restrictions that 5 members, usually those who, the custodians of the mosques who live there anyway and their families, would be allowed to pray in the mosques while citizens were urged to pray at home. When the Prime Minister eased some restrictions with the lockdown, including barber shops and tailors in parts of the country, it's obviously difficult to convince religiously minded people when such restrictions are being lifted. However, since they were cooperating, restrictions in mosques were going well. I see no need for the Prime Minister to ease those restrictions and then to go on justifying allowing citizens to risk not only their own lives, but the lives of others.
So therefore, will you be putting these restrictions back in place in Sindh, the province that you control?
We, in the Sindh province, we were the first not only to introduce the lockdown, but also engage the religious community and impose these initial restrictions. We don't have the capacity to police all mosques in the provinces, given the mixed messaging that has now come from the federal government. We look to still engage with the religious community to try and convince them to abide by the lockdown restrictions that they were already abiding by. But of course, that is now difficult when the Prime Minister of the country is on national television, making it an issue about freedom. I believe that this is a colossal failure of leadership in Pakistan. And when you compare us to the rest of the Muslim world, when countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran and every other Muslim country have taken steps to safeguard the lives of their citizens, this is a failure of leadership. This is not the time for populist electoral politics. This is the time to take decisions based on the advice of doctors and health experts. And doctors from Pakistan from Lahore to Karachi are protesting, are giving press conferences, appealing, beseeching us to take those necessary steps to protect them, to ease the burden on them and our healthcare system.
So do you trust the government's figures that they are putting out about the amount of infections and deaths?
I think that they are most certainly capacity issues, and no province is being supported up to their expectations by the federal government of Pakistan in increasing their testing capacity. Without increased testing, the efficiency of our lockdown is questionable. The province of Karachi has the capacity to deal with a global pandemic.
I mean, there's a global pandemic, and we're also looking at a global recession as well. And I wanted to ask you, given that, if you are worried about the particular aid programs that Pakistan relies on now possibly being neglected as countries have to worry about their own economies.
I absolutely worry not just about Pakistan, but other developing countries at the time of this global pandemic. I believe that across the world for the last decade, from the US, from the United States to India, we've had this flirt with nationalistic populism, an increase in partisanship away from multilateralism that has left all of us and unprepared to deal with this global pandemic together as a community. And in Pakistan's case, unfortunately, we haven't managed yet that national unity required to fight this in the most efficient manner possible.
We do very much appreciate your time. And before we let you go, can I ask you how you and your family will be observing Ramadan?
Well, thank you so much. We will be observing Ramadan in our homes. I personally will be offering my prayer, the 5-time-a-day prayers or our Taraweeh prayers that we observe at home. And I would call upon Muslims across the world, particularly Pakistan, to please stay at home, pray at home, not only protect themselves, but to protect others.
Mrs. Zardari, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Enjoy Ramadan and time with your family.